to install CentOS.
We are now going to do a fresh install of CentOS 8.1, the latest version of CentOS at the time of this installation. We have already allocated hard disk space for this installation to make a virtual machine under VMware, and we have inserted the install disk image, and we are ready to begin. So we will not take the step of testing the media and installing it because that takes some time. So we'll just go directly to an install. So I'll just move to the first element here and hit return. And we'll try to do this install as quickly as possible. So we'll choose mostly the default choices. And we're going to do a workstation install rather than a server install because this is what is desired for this course, to have a user-based install. Okay, so the first choice is to pick the language. We'll pick English. And then we can go really through any order we want through these different choices to begin with, but let's just go in order. So we've already picked an English keyboard with the US layout. And also language support is set up for English for the United States. You can click on these to make those changes. For the time and date, it's actually better to make sure the network is installed first. So here I click on network, and I'm going to turn on the network. It found the network card, and it's kind of ready to go. Probably should configure, but I think the default choices will be fine. If I go to general, it says all users may connect. And then if I go to IPv4 settings, you'll see it's automatic DHCP. So that's generally what you want rather than having to give it a fixed address. So we'll just say OK for all this. And I guess we should say connect automatically with priority 0. That means it'll always connect when you start up the machine, and we can say done. The reason it's good to do that before we set the time and date is we can now have network time on, which means it will automatically find the time. I'm currently doing this installation from Central Time Zone in the United States, so you can try to do that with the mouse. And I got it right. It's set for Chicago, which is Central Time. So I'll say done. And then the installation source is rather important, but that's local media. I already have the DVD set. As you see, it's CentOS 8-1-1911. That's the latest version of CentOS. For the software selection, let's just keep the workstation. I could make it a server with a graphical interface or just a server. If I really wanted to be quick, I could do a minimal install and then bring everything up later that I need. But within the workstation, I should pick a few things. I'll pick the GNOME applications, the Internet applications. You'll probably want to pick the Office Suite and Productivity, but I'd like this to go quickly, so I won't do that right now. I'll pick development tools in case I want to compile anything. And that's probably the main things I need right now, but you can always change everything in detail once the system's up. So it's good to do a relatively quick install. The trickiest part here is to do the installation partitioning setup. So I've already got picked here the virtual 30 gigabyte disk. And if I wanted to make things really fast, I would do automatic storage configuration, and let it decide what kind of partitions I should have, how big they should be, etc. And you may want to at least look at that, but let me just do custom because it fits in better with my needs. And then I can say done. Okay, and then I get to pick what kind of installation. I want to do a standard partition and not an LVM, which is logical volume management. I just want a simple standard partition, so I'll do that. And then I actually have to create the partitions I need, so I hit the plus sign. And I'll have one big partition for everything, so it's mounted at /. And let's give it 29 gigabytes. And I'll add that. This is the 30 gigabyte disk. And then I'll add one more, okay? And that won't be mounted. That'll be for swap. And if I don't give it desired capacity, it should take it all. Which it actually decided it should have 3 gigabytes. I'll let the system go with what it wants. It's doing that based on how much memory I have, okay? And it says I have only like 1 megabyte left out of the total 30 gigabytes. The one other thing I get to do for the first mount point here is pick what kind of file system. And you notice the default on Red Hat now is, or CentOS is XFS. Let me make it ext4, which is easier to mount from other machines, etc., than XFS. But you can just take the default if you prefer. And then I say done, and it should be done. It's telling me, do I really want to do this because it's going to wipe out everything that's on that disk? And I'll say sure, accept the changes. So I'm pretty much done. KDump is a system you can set up so that if the system crashes, you produce what's called a core dump file. So I'll just, you probably won't need to use that. It'll be a little faster to boot when you have a new kernel, so I'll just not enable that. But if you're doing a development machine, you probably want that. We already configured the network. And under security policy, we won't do any specialization. We'll just leave it alone for now. You can always change it later. And then you just say begin installation. Now, it'll already take a head start on trying to load some packages and files while you have some more information to put in. First, you'll have to pick a password for the root account. And so I'll do that. and it's actually LF train for virtual machines we use for the classes, which is a pretty simple